Hey, Allegra.
Hey, Russ.
Have you been to Chuck E. Cheese?
I've never been to Chuck E. Cheese.
And even when we recorded this episode about the history of Chuck E. Cheese, you still hadn't been, and you still haven't been since then.
I don't think you've been either.
And I have not been either.
Neither
but,
of us have been. Why are we here right now? Why are we not at Chuck E. Cheese?
well, I wanted to share because Chris Plant did all this amazing research on the history of Chuck E. Cheese, the origins of it, and it seems like it's become part of the Polygon mythos. So I thought you guys on the YouTubes might appreciate learning all about the dark, twisted history of Chuck E. Cheese. Everything has a dark history, even the fun things.
That's true. Yes. Which I like.
Indeed. So Allegra and I host this podcast. It's called History of Fun. If you dig it, you're going to hear an episode right after this. But if you enjoy it, be sure to subscribe on your podcasting platform of choice, whether that's Apple Podcasts or various other things. Anyway, we hope you enjoy it and try not to be terrified. I certainly was when I looked at the original design.
Oh,
for
God, yeah.
Chuck E. Cheese. That will haunt my memories forever. Anyway, bye-bye. Hello and welcome to the History of Fun, where we explore the hidden backstories behind the things you love to do. My name is Russ Frushtick, and I'm joined by Allegra Frank and Chris Plant. Welcome, guys.
Hi.
Hello.
We have a very special episode today. We are talking about Chuck E. Cheese, truly the most fun place on the planet. Chris Plant, as I understand it, you are the Chuck E. Cheese expert in the house.
I've become one. I'll be honest. I think of myself more as a Monopoly expert, but I didn't get that episode, so I've been left with old Chuck Cheddar. But you know, I think I have a tale to tell you. I want to make you a promise right from the start. Okay?
Yeah.
This story, it will have corporate intrigue. It will have $1 million lawsuit, a pair of child prodigies, and it will end with a humongous explosion involving an experimental fuel.
Oh my
Wow.
gosh. Talk about build-up.
This is a story of my good pal Chuck Cheddar. So, okay, this it's going to be more of a history-focused episode. I'm going to pepper it with quiz questions to keep you engaged.
Okay, well, I should mention from the jump, I don't think I've ever physically been in a Chuck E. Cheese, let alone seen one.
I've never been to one, yeah.
Oh, so you didn't have good childhoods. That's interesting.
Yeah.
The year is 1976. George Lucas, director, maybe you've heard of him, has begun filming Star Wars in Tunisia. Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak have formed Apple. The Boston Celtics beat the Phoenix Suns
I don't think these are
in
all related
triple
to
overtime
Chuck E. Cheese.
in Game 5 of the NBA Finals in what is one of the greatest games of all time, in the Son of Sam strikes in New York
If you
City.
can combine these into being Chuck E. Cheese related, I'm going to be so impressed.
Meanwhile, in sunny California, Nolan Bushnell, the co-founder of Atari, has sold the company to get he wants investment basically so that he has cash to release Atari hardware in which a cartridge can be added to the console, if you will, and then you don't just have to ship like one permanent piece of hardware. You can sell games as cartridges.
Cool.
Pretty big idea. He also wants to distribute arcades to kids because he looks at the numbers, right? And he's like, okay, I sell arcade cabinet, I get $1,500. And then the arcade owners, they get 50 grand getting those quarters from those little kids, right?
Yeah, but they got to service it and clean the gum out and stuff. Like, it's not all profit.
Listen, I'm putting in you the brain of Bushnell.
Okay.
You know, you should be so lucky to share his meat space. But he can't compete with the people he's selling to. He needs like a new idea, okay? So, now I'm going to kind of give you an idea of like where arcades and video games are in the 1970s. They're not like today. Like, for one, they actually exist. Arcades are mostly a place for like teenagers and adults. They're packed into like the corner bars. They're seedy. Probably the only place that you'd really see them for like little kids is Disney World. But not everybody's going to hop on a plane to go to an arcade. So they need to find a solution for getting arcades for little kids where parents will actually want the kids to go there and not feel like they're going to get beat up by those like typical 1970s teen.
Sure.
Like, we've seen Stranger Things. We know,
That's 80s, though.
We know how the story ends. I know, and in the 70s, it was even worse.
Oh, my
It
God.
was still bad in the 80s, to be
CD.
clear.
I mean, yeah, it was bad, but like, Pacino, the 70s.
Wait, are you
cocaine,
implying that Pacino was
Scarface.
playing Pac-Man in bars in the 70s?
Probably. I don't know. Everybody was playing Pac-Man in bars in the 70s.
Serpico? Is that a scene in Serpico?
On the flip side, here's the U.S. The U.S. is changing. Two-income households, more common than ever, but that means less time to cook, less time to spend with the fam. According to Food Service Marketing, a trusted source for news, children were wealthier than ever before, and they cite the guilt of absent parents who are just like, get two parents now.
The guild
have
of
jobs.
absent parents.
I don't think it's guilt.
The guilt,
They
not
just
the guild.
Oh my god, I thought you said the guild of absent parents. I was like, they formed an organization.
I don't think it's guilt, though. I think it's clearly they just want a cheap babysitter in the form of Pac-Man.
That is the other thing. Also, parents, because they feel guilty, but they also want like kids to be like they were when they were kids. So they're telling them to mow lawns, they're telling them to babysit, they're just giving them some cash to go like keep themselves busy.
Sure.
Right. This has also been a decade of instability for chain restaurants. In fact, I did not know this. There had been a sing-along pizza parlor already in the 1950s called Shakey's.
Oh,
So-
I've heard of Shakey's Pizza. That's what that is, but they didn't have robot bears and stuff.
Well, they moved away from entertainment because the instability of the 70s, you just had to get down to brass tacks.
Sure.
So now, chain restaurants are coming back. Parents need a place to take their kids. Bushnell is a huge fan of Disney. He actually went, this is according to an interview with NPR, he went to the Tiki Room.
Oh, yeah, you
in
love the Tiki
Disneyland.
Room.
And it all came together, which makes me so happy because it is one of the greatest, most offensive places on earth. He probably had a Dole Whip in his hand, and he was like, I get it. A single venue for food, an arcade, and why not animated robotic entertainment? And thus was born the initial idea for Chuck Cheddar, Chuck E. Cheese. So he actually had some help. He is still at Atari, the consumer division president and general manager of the restaurant operating division at Atari. Sure.
Okay.
Gene Landrum.
Oh, wait.
Together,
so that
they
was
cobble-
they were basically in charge of putting arcades in restaurants.
I think, but restaurant operating implies
Yeah.
They were running
Like they
running
have them.
restaurants.
What if they just established all these divisions preemptively? Like, okay, we're gonna have a library, we're gonna have restaurants, we're gonna have schools. We gotta get heads for those.
Wait, why did you start with public works?
Those are the three things that matter in my life: school, libraries,
I don't know, Gene.
restaurants.
I don't think this is going to work. We're competing with the national government. Don't worry about it. So him and Gene cobbled together a pitch around a mascot costume that he had purchased at a trade show. Okay.
Sure.
And they decide, let's go with pizza because
Cheap.
it's slow to make. And well, yeah, cheap, but you actually want it to be slow because if the food is slow, then there's more time for the kids to play games.
Yeah,
Pizza's not slow.
Pizza is slow. At the time, you would have to put in your order. It wasn't like a burger was at the time. They hadn't had the revolution of cheap microwave pizza. You actually made a pizza.
Also, what they did is they would make each individual slice, and then they'd be like, "No, I wanted a whole pie," and then they would
Start
make
over again.
More
And
slices.
each individual pepperoni. They would slaughter the pig. It was a process. So, time for the first Chuck E. Cheese. May 17th.
So the costume is,
1977.
just to be clear, the costume was a mouse.
Can you please not spoil
I mean,
my
okay, I'm sorry.
podcast? Because, okay, we're going to get to that in a second. May 17th, 1977. Chuck E. Cheese, Pizza Time Theater. It opens in San Jose, California. About a 5,000 square foot converted brokerage office. Despite being huge compared to pizza parlors at the time, it immediately feels small because they give kids tokens whenever they make an order, and it is giving them that first bump. They
Yeah.
are
Mm.
hooked. Does that fall into our be kid friendly
I think-
thing? Talking about
Let's
kids
just
getting
keep
their
moving
first
on.
bump?
Let's keep moving on and not address it.
And according to Fortune, he actually Bushnell considered banning unaccompanied teens, and he went with animated entertainment not just because he likes Tiki Room, but because he could pay no wages because they're just like robots.
Oh,
So you don't gotta pay 'em.
No, but the robots can't take care of anyone. Like, they can't
Yeah,
clean.
but they take care of kids by entertaining them. Do you know how hard of a job that is?
I mean, I get it.
they're better
my
at that than
gosh.
humans.
Okay, quiz time.
You need to hire people to like protect the robots from being attacked and like pizza being
The
thrown
robots
on them.
protect themselves.
No, they don't. Not then. They do now in Westworld. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Plant. Trivia.
What animal costume did Bushnell believe he had purchased?
Mouse.
No.
Wrong. Obviously wrong. Why would I ask you that question if it was a mouse?
I'm going to say a bear.
Okay, wait. If it looks kind of like a mouse, but it's not a mouse, I'm gonna guess rabbit.
That's not going to help you. I will tell you straight
okay.
up that will.
Okay,
that-
then I'm gonna go completely off the beaten trail and say turtle.
okay, it is a coyote. He he was going to name the restaurant Coyote Pizza,
Good name.
and then he showed everyone at Atari the mascot, and they were like, "I'm sorry, that's a rat." And he's like, "Great, we'll call it Rick Rat's Pizza." And the marketing and PR department were like, "Take a weekend, spend some time with yourself."
Go to a spa.
They came back and they said, "We've got it. Chuck E. Cheese." It's alliterative, like Mickey Mouse. They knew he loved Disney. And
It's a mouse.
It's a triple smile name. If you say it, you have to smile 3 times.
Chucky? Oh, you do.
Terrifying.
Okay, but
Mhm.
Plant, why was it Chuck E instead of Chucky?
Because you stop.
You get another
Look,
smile out of it.
I'm not a PR mastermind like the whiz kids over at Atari in 1977.
Was there a concern that like this was like you're going mouse to mouse? Like Mickey Mouse is obviously a big deal, right? You're just doing a lot of mice.
I mean,
Yeah, also, is he technically a rat or is he a mouse?
well, I mean, it's a rat costume, but I think that they're like, let's call him a mouse.
And he's got rounded ears. How would you ever confuse a coyote with rounded ears?
Oh my
Have you seen a
God.
photo
Well,
of it?
okay.
Also, the fact that he wanted it
yes.
to be a coyote.
So earlier this week, Russ and I played Disneyland on Connect.
Yeah.
Yes.
Whatever. Disneyland Adventures. And people showed us the early photographs of what Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse looked like
Terrifying.
on opening day. Horror show. Let me tell you, Chuck E. Cheese does not look a whole lot better.
Oh my God.
You can definitely see how people saw it and were like, I don't know, it's mammalian, and that's about as far as I can get.
Sure.
So, expansion time, right? 1978, it's a year later. Bushnell gets forced out of Atari by its new owners, Warner Communications.
Ugh.
He's only 2 years into a 5-year non-compete in the video game space.
Okay.
Because when they purchased Atari, it was like, okay, you have
Yeah,
to
you
like
can't go work
not
at
work on
Sega.
games or stay here.
Yeah.
So he has money. He made apparently around $15 million from Warner's purchase of Atari.
That
And
doesn't
that's
seem like a
his-
lot. Am I crazy? Because they
At the
like
time-
owned the gaming space at that point.
Not yet. That actually didn't have. Their like real breakthrough is in essentially now, like beginning in '78, going to the crash. In
As soon as they
83.
got Bushnell out of there.
Yeah.
Once we got him out, we can make real cash. So he uses $500,000 of his personal wealth.
Sure.
He buys the rights and the single, what's then called Pizza Time restaurant from Atari because they're like, whatever.
Wait,
What
was
are you
that
gonna do
the
with this?
genre of the restaurant, Pizza Time?
No, Pizza Time is actually the like official corporate name.
Oh, so
It's Chuck
they-
E. Cheese's Pizza Time restaurant.
Ah.
Chuck E. Cheese owns Pizza Time.
Oh.
You are invited to his Pizza Time. Okay.
It's his time for
So-
pizza.
Landrum, the other guy that we talked
The
about,
restaurant
who
guy.
somehow had restaurant expertise at Atari. He leaves Atari, becomes the first president and COO of Chuck E. Cheese.
Does that count as a non-compete if you're working for another restaurant if you were originally at a video game company?
My guess is since you acquired his division, essentially,
Okay, sure.
they probably were going to complain.
Sure.
Okay, so the two open a second restaurant in the exact same area. This one, the first one was 5,000 square feet.
Hmm.
This one is 20,000
Holy
square
crap.
feet. They take
That's
over
Fuddruckers
a
sized.
grocery store. They're fitting between 40 to 100 games into these spaces.
That's crazy.
So, in Food Service Marketing Magazine, our go-to source for journalism, Landrum compares Pizza Time with a Vegas hotel. He's like, a Vegas hotel has food operations, gaming operations, and entertainment operations.
Oh, God.
And you wouldn't consider doing one without the other.
That's so creepy.
So that kind of gives you an idea of where their ambitions are at.
Okay.
So from the get-go, these places are heavily themed. They have Fantasy Forest Game Preserve, Jasper T. Jowell's General Store. I mean, there's essentially real estate within the real estate.
Hold on, I have a question. So they have
yes.
2 restaurants at this point.
Yeah.
Why would you ever go to the other one if they're in the same
it's just
area?
Are they like a block away from each other? Or are they far apart?
So apparently, this is a stat that I did not think I would have to use. I guess at the time, going more than 5 miles for a restaurant was really uncommon. And they would brag about how people would go 10 miles to get to Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah, because they had to take like a horse and buggy. It took a
In
while.
the 70s, yep.
Yeah, of course. Most animatronics, you're picturing like the stage show, right?
Sure.
That's not how it worked. They were hung kind of in relief, essentially as if you imagine like a classic frame.
Like hung on the wall, like it's like a head of a moose.
Yeah, kind of like that, but coming through a frame. So not entirely like that, but yeah, good guess.
Like zombie taxidermy.
Yeah, but not dead. Reaching out from another dimension that is within your wall.
And what would happen?
how
So
I
the
would-
curtain would like when they finished their scene, the curtain would close and they'd disappear behind the
No,
wall.
there could be no curtain because they're reaching out of frames on the wall.
They're just
there's
always
huge
there.
Monstrosities. And also, no need for a curtain because the shows would happen every 7 minutes. Imagine the hell for any parent that had to go there.
Oh my God.
Chuck E. Cheese is just a, like, welcome to Joyzy, like, vaudeville character
Sure.
who is always munching on his signature cigar.
What?
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they served beer and wine at this place.
Oh, wow.
I mean,
Whoa.
you know, they took care of you if you ever made it down to Chuck Cheddar's.
They had a good vintage, you would say, like Primo Napa.
You know, I'm gonna guess not because Landrum himself described the food as not super great. His phrase for the pizza was thin crust and relatively bland.
Wait, so did Charles, our good friend Charles, did he have like his high-pitched voice and just like was sucking on a cigar with this very high-pitched voice?
I don't. That might just be my impersonation of
certainly.
Joyzy. Joyzy,
A
Nookie.
wise guy, eh?
You wouldn't believe it. Everybody I know here is named Nookie. Anyway, they couldn't have spicy pizza because it would give the kids upset tummy. So, 1979, things are going very well. They have 6 units now. Each one is averaging $1 million a year. So they're doing good. 80% of that is from food and drink, 20% from games.
Interesting.
But the 20% from games generates roughly 40% of profits.
Whoa.
Oh, because there's
So-
no overhead for the
Yeah,
games.
I mean, and also his entire logic worked, right? Like,
Yeah.
he's getting all that cash.
Are they all like within spitting distance? Like I'm picturing Southern California. Where are these located?
They're all on the West Coast, I believe at this point, mostly within California.
Yeah.
They're all just 10 miles apart from each other.
So I'm glad you asked that because Bushnell, he has expansion on the mind.
Hell yeah.
He wants to get away from the West Coast. He wants to, in 5 years' time, open between 500 and 1,000 Chuck E. Cheese.
In 5 years?
Whoa.
In 5 years.
Oh my God.
So he makes an agreement with a hotelier named Robert Brock, who will get the exclusive rights for 16 states in the South and the Midwest. And Brock forms essentially a company called Pizza Showbiz, which is a sub-company meant to develop up to 200 of his own units, and then sign franchisees for another 85 units.
Sure.
So basically, like the scheme is kind of coming into
I
place,
just
right?
feel like
you have
in 5 years you could not produce that many robots. I feel like there's got to be a ceiling
What
to how
about
many
the
robots.
robots?
interesting that you say that. I wonder if anything could happen. So Bushnell, like, he needs Brock actually because at this point he is funding Pizza Time with his Atari money.
Sure.
Well, Brock, who is a hotelier, has a huge line of credit from all his hotel franchises, so he can take out millions of dollars to open these restaurants. around the same time, while prepping his restaurant in Kansas City, the greatest city on earth, represent. Brock is given a heads up about this prodigy named Aaron Fector. And Fector, who is only 25, is something of like a robotics genius. He's running a 25-person animatronics company called Creative Engineering out of Orlando. Obviously,
Yeah.
Disney and a bunch of other theme parks. According to Fortune, Bushnell actually met Fector at least once. So Bushnell, not Brock. Bushnell had met Fector once, possibly twice at trade shows, and had inquired into buying Fector's company. He was impressed by some of the animation aspects that he could do with robotics.
Smart.
But when Brock asked about him, Bushnell was like, no, like, there's nothing to that guy. Don't worry about him. You certainly wouldn't want to meet him. Brock, of course, goes and see him. He sees him anyway, and he is stunned. At the point, Pizza Time's Chuck E. Cheese robotics are like loud and kind of click like locusts.
Yeah, God.
Vector has he has a 5-piece band, and like apparently, comparably, it is stunning. Just markedly better. So Brock is immediately afraid that Bushnell can't compete. So he goes back to Bushnell and he's like, I'm dissolving this. Peace, I'm done. Bushnell's like, no way in hell. You owe me 285 restaurants. Brock gets into a partnership with Fector anyway. He gives Fector 20% of Showbiz Pizza to produce the robots. And it looks like he's going to make like one Chuck E. Cheese because he was so far in development, and then get into Showbiz, right?
Just a single Chuck E. Cheese location.
A single Chuck E. Cheese in Kansas City.
And then,
so that looks like what we're heading into in 1980. At the Antioch Shopping Center, he's about to open this Chuck E. Cheese. Bushnell ships him the robots, and at the last minute, he's like, I want none of it.
What?
Sends the robots back, tells Fector to expedite production. They install their own Rockafire Explosion Band.
What? Wow.
Led by, at first, Billy Bob himself. It's very Country Bears Jamboree. I mean, people have seen the Rockafire Explosion Band, even if you don't know Showbiz. Really? It wasn't like...
Is that the Country Bears?
Yeah, no. Rockafire Explosion is whenever people picture Chuck E. Cheese, often they're picturing, like, this band.
Okay.
Even though it wasn't Chuck E. Cheese.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah.
And their big hook is they sing Beach Boys and Beatles knockoffs. So the parents in the audience are like, sure, whatever.
Are
like,
they knockoffs or are they covers?
I believe they're like probably like
Close enough.
somewhere legally in between.
Surfing Kansas City.
Yeah. And the band has 6 shows that run roughly 4 minutes each, and then they just run on loop. So you hear that show pretty quick.
That's what I don't understand about the success of these restaurants is like, literally what parent would be able to sit in this environment and be like, I'm coming back here? That's what I don't get.
I think I look, I'm not a parent yet, but my guess is that you are so appreciative of any distraction whatsoever that you gain the capacity to tune out the entire world.
This is
for, like,
pre-iPad,
that half
so
hour.
there's no way to really like cheaply shut your kid up.
It's just a bunch of parents staring dead-eyed out into the
Eating bland pizza.
Either eating terrible pizza, just numb to it all.
But good wine.
Love this wine. A great cab. So, of course, legal battle ensues. Bushnell sues Brock. Brock countersues Bushnell for misrepresentation. They eventually settle out of court. Showbiz Pizza agrees to pay Pizza Time some of its profits for at least the next 14 years.
Okay, pretty good.
Nice.
Bushnell at the time estimates that he'll make about $50 million off of
Nice.
just that. So, okay, quiz time. How much do you think it cost at this moment in time that we're at, early 1980s, to open a Showbiz Pizza?
Showbiz is the Bushnell one or the other one?
Showbiz is the Brock one.
The Brock one. Okay, so I would
with the
guess
fancy robots.
this point in time, let's say $1.5 million.
Allegra?
Okay. I'm gonna say $1.6 million.
You jerk.
You both were close. It cost 1.25
Oh,
million.
yeah.
Dang it, you were closer.
Yeah, I win.
90K of that went into the 8 animals. 20K
It was
for
only
50.
only 90K for 8 robot animals?
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, things were cheaper than I thought. 20K for 50 video games and 30 amusement park devices.
That's pretty cheap too. And then
Yeah,
just
yeah.
the property and stuff.
And then then the rest is like
The rest was for the
actually buying
pizza.
real estate. The huge spaces. Oh yeah, and that delicious, sweet, bland pizza. So despite the lawsuit, things are very good. It's kind of like an arms race at this point between the two of them.
A robot arms race.
Okay, so Chuck E. Cheese moves the characters out off of the terrifying frames. They get a stage show,
Sure.
finally. They diversify their characters. Basically, the idea is that if you did go to a Chuck E. Cheese in the same city, you would see different, like, special guest characters. That way, you're motivated to, like, get the full canon.
Yeah, like Bob Balaban. Like, what kind of special guests are we talking about?
Yeah, Bob. I think I might be getting this mixed up, but I believe they were named after, like, stars at the time, so it'd be, like, Elkton John.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Elk.
Wait, so the premise for that was like they wanted people to plan their vacations around where Chuck E. Cheese locations were?
No, I think it's more like you can go to Chuck E. Cheese multiple times a month and just go to different Chuck E.
And
Cheeses.
have a different experience.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But
Have a
sure.
different
I mean,
horrifying
also,
experience.
I like the idea of people road tripping across the country to meet all of the celebrity animatronics.
Farrah Fawcett.
Fector, who did the fancy robots, he is now designing games. Ironically, for 2 to 12-year-olds. Bushnell is waiting for Atari's non-compete to lapse so he can get in that game. Because the idea is that whoever has the better games will have probably the better restaurant. Both chains are hitting 3 times to 4 times sales of traditional pizza chains.
Wow.
Despite having, like, everybody agrees, worse and slower pizza. They can fit 400 customers into most of their shops, which is way more than their competitors. And sometimes the two are opening up in eyesight of each other.
Whoa.
So the same shopping center would have a Showbiz and a Chuck
Oh
E.
my
Cheese.
God, it's like West Side Story.
Pizza Time manages to go public in 1981. Bushnell passes over management so he can focus on his tech incubator, including a project that's basically Neo Geo. It's a cart-based arcade cabinet.
Wow.
By 1982, the stock has nearly doubled for our pals at Chuck Cheddar. And according to Fortune magazine in 1982, Brock's company had a 234% increase in 2 years of public trading. They're just doing staggering. 131 Chuck E. Cheese's, 75 Showbiz's. They both have tens of millions of dollars in capital. And in 1982, both of the restaurants are opening at a rate of 1 every 5 days.
That's crazy.
So,
It's terrifying.
Truly great. Should be great. Storm's coming, though. This is a quote from Lee Eisger of Payne, Weber, Mitchell, Hutchins, Inc.
Oh yeah, he must
as
be a
reported
blast at parties.
to Fortune. These places don't have the best video game arcade or best restaurants. Anyone can replicate the idea, and what'll happen when the novelty wears off? Competition is coming from Bailey Arcade, Sega, Warner, who they had worked for, now has stores in which they're using Looney Tunes characters. And even Brock has had his own people break away to partner with ex-Disney animators to open their own versions. So
Oh my
there
God.
are rampant ripoffs.
And how many can the market really sustain? How much demand really is there for these outrageous places?
That is a great question, which we'll get to after this brief intermission. You like that? We build up, we come to the big turning point, and now I've got something totally different for you.
Oh my
Let's
God.
talk about animatronics.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
So, Fector, you're probably wondering, like, who's this 25-year-old genius?
Yeah.
He made a TV repair business at the age of 11.
What?
But he couldn't lift the TV sets,
Oh,
so he had to close.
that's predictable.
And fun side story in the reporting for this podcast, while researching it, I found out that a Denver reporter plagiarized that anecdote from a Kansas City reporter a year after she wrote it first. Word for word.
Wow.
What do I do now? Just rampant plagiarism happening in the early 80s. He graduated from college, I believe, at 19, and the first thing he wanted to do was make a 2-person car roughly the size of a golf cart that got 90 miles per gallon.
Awesome.
Whoa.
Quiz time. What would he name that car?
Smart car.
Nope, not that one. How about you, Allegra?
Oh my God. I'm going to say cart to go. Which is a
Closer.
pun on a thing that didn't exist yet.
Smart car, too.
He wanted to name it. This is also a pun on a thing that didn't exist. The Jetta.
Oh.
Like a Jetta, but with a U.
The
Wait,
Jetta.
The Jetta didn't exist yet?
Did it?
I don't know.
I
It
don't
might
know.
have. How long has the Jetta existed? I feel like that's an early 90s.
I hope it did, because Jetta
invent.
is a stupid name.
Yeah, what is the Jetta like even trying to evoke?
What does that mean?
Listen, I'm not.
It
I'm not
juts out?
Fender. I can't
Anyway,
speak for
I'm
him.
assuming that car did not happen.
So no, and neither did his leaf sucking up device for pools. He really didn't even get into amusement park animatronics until he was contracted to make some amusement park devices, and then they didn't pay him. So out
Aw.
of spite, he was like, "Great, now I'm just going to do this, and I'm going to take it to trade shows, and I'm going to go around to all these people."
I'm just going to build a robot army and see what
I'm
happens.
just going to spend
Which
even more money and make
he did.
robots.
In 1978, he revealed his animatronic band, the Wolfpack 5, inspired by the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and that is probably where he met Bushnell for the first time.
Amazing.
His business was substantial. By the time he was working with Showbiz, he had 200 employees who would put over 100 sets of 12 Showbiz characters together a year, which is
Wow.
1,200 robots. He had a
Imagine
weird
how
relationship-
annoying that factory must have been.
because
God.
they had to test all of them.
Yeah, just constant robots singing.
At the time, maybe still today, he had somewhat of a negative relationship with cash. He told Fortune, "I don't know anyone nice who has money." He liked that people didn't have to pay to see his robot show. They went to Showbiz and they paid for the pizza, but the show was free in theory.
Sure.
But he owned 70% of Creative Engineering, his robots company. He owned 16% personally of Showbiz, and he had a salary of $70K.
So he was doing pretty well.
He was doing pretty okay. In a 1981 interview with the Kansas City Star, he was very ambitious. He said, "I think electronimation will end up in nightclubs as entertainment for adults. I think eventually we can program characters for drama, for plays, like a serious performance of Shakespeare."
No,
He did recognize that was unlikely, and he's like, "We might have to start with like funny performances of Shakespeare to get people on board before we get them into
So like
the
Midsummer
crying
Night's
stuff."
Dream, you mean?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, the,
Oh my
the
God.
funny ones.
He's like, first we'll start with strip clubs, and then we'll get to Shakespeare. My true dream.
I don't wanna like eat too much time. I want to get back to the story, but I do want to mention this another person. This woman, she worked at Chuck E. Cheese. She was on the other side of the fence. Jewel Kamen, she was a cosmetic product designer. Basically, because you had to dress the robots, you designed their like skin the way you would design a costume. Yeah. She had this to say, 90% of my time is spent documenting things and finding sources of supply. Right now, we're looking for a source of pink velour for our elephant. The people in ordering just called me to tell me that pink velour isn't in this year. Chuck E. Cheese's fur was discontinued recently, and we had to have some specially dyed to replace it. I will just die if stretchy terry cloth goes out of style. We use it for everything. Otherwise, we'd have to sew darts.
I will just die.
She is my hero. I want to meet her so bad. I tried to find her on LinkedIn. She's not there.
Oh, someday.
I am disappointed. Also, one other quick Chuck E. Cheese animatronics thing. The robot that most people know, that was released in 1998. It was created by Garner Holt, who is probably best known for doing the Phantasmic dragon at Disneyland, which is a big thing. And more recently, he's done some of the cars at Cars Land. So
what is the robot
there-
that most people know?
it like actually looks good. It's kind of after
What's
our
it
childhood.
called?
It's called Chuck E. Cheese. I don't know, like 5.0.
Oh, a robot of Chuck E. Cheese himself.
Yeah, because they started paring down the band, and they're like, let's just get one good Chuck robot.
Sure.
Because like that's what the people are showing up here for. They're here for
Yeah, that's
Chuck.
reasonable. Got to see their
Got
Chuck.
it? Okay, back to the main story. So Bushnell is busy with his incubators. He is working on all of these absurd things. According to a Wikipedia page that I think maybe he wrote or somebody close to him, his things would somehow go on to become the beginnings of Pixar and Google Maps.
Whoa.
There's a way of framing it that's like some software is sure. But he's busy, distracted, when suddenly the video game crash of 1983 comes.
Mm-hmm.
Not good. Also, it turned out that they were getting a lot of false positives on how popular Chuck E. Cheese is. They were seeing families come in 3 times a month and filling the venues. Turns out it's just novel. And once the novelty wears off, people aren't super into it.
Also known as the parents were miserable for every minute of their lives while they were there and would never come back.
And here's the twist that I was not prepared for. 1984, Bushnell resigns in February. The company files for Chapter 11 bankruptcy.
Oh, no.
Wow, so fast.
And it's acquired by Showbiz Pizza.
Brilliant.
Oh, wow.
So all this time, we've been going to Showbiz Pizza.
Oh my God.
They merge into Showbiz Pizza. And the weird thing about this is, as a kid, I went to Showbiz Pizza in Kansas City.
And you didn't know. Oh, that was the first one.
No, I went to the real one. I went to Showbiz Pizza. And then people would be like, Chuck E. Cheese. And I was like, no, Chuck E. Cheese is for posers. Showbiz is where it's at.
So they would keep some of them called Chuck E. Cheese, and then some of them were still called Showbiz. Or did they?
Interesting that you would say that. So,
Oh, boy. Good
for
setup.
6 years, they try that, right? They're like, Chuck E. Cheese, Showbiz, teach their own, maybe you like old Chuck Cheddar, maybe you like the Rocket Fire Explosion. But at a certain point, they're like, hey, we have a $9 million marketing budget. Spreading that across 2 entirely different brands that compete with each other doesn't make sense. Let's start unifying under Chuck E. Cheese.
Sure.
Around this time, Vector and creative engineering are like, no thanks. We have our own characters. We're peacing out. So they lose their big robot whiz. They develop a new show in which Chuck E. Cheese, this is just for show business, where Chuck E. Cheese has to introduce the other band and be like, hey, don't worry about those old guys. They're off to a farm where they're going to play to their heart's content, but I want to introduce you to my new friends, and I think you're going to love them just as much. And the company was really worried. There are like multiple Business Week, whatever magazine reports of will the brand survive because people are so loyal to their crappy pizza place.
But apparently not, because they'd only come once and never come back.
Correct. So basically it works out, and here's where the story just kind of goes into what you're familiar with. 1994, they drop pizza from the name. They update the logo. 1998, Showbiz Pizza Time Inc. finally becomes CEC Entertainment Inc.
Yeah. Chuck E. Cheese. Got it.
2012, hoping to win kids' hearts, they redesigned Chuck E. Cheese as a DreamWorks-looking rodent, voiced by Bowling for Soup's Jarrett Reddick.
No, really?
Wow.
Yep.
What? That's nuts.
2014, the company is acquired by Apollo Global Management for
that's an evil company.
$54 per share, roughly $950 million. I feel like this is a sign of our Blade Runner-esque, cyberpunk apocalypse in which everything is owned by some parent holding company that just sounds like it truly is evil.
Yeah.
Apollo Global Management. They force you to have... I'm not going to go into it.
They definitely have a statue of a giant fist in their lobby, just crushing the earth.
So, what is Chuck E. Cheese today? 2017. It turns out we're recording this podcast at the right moment.
Hell yeah.
Because change is coming to Chuck Cheddar.
How many are there right now? Do you know?
I do, but I'm not going to tell you because that's going to be a quiz.
Oh, trivia. Okay, good.
In August, management pilots new design in 7 spots, including 3 in Kansas City.
Wait, this is August of just a couple months ago.
August. Yeah, this year.
Wow.
The new restaurants have a muted design. They have an open kitchen. Instead of tokens, you have a credit card, basically, like a pass.
Sure.
But you still get tickets because kids love tickets.
Yep.
Which is smart, in my opinion. the new logo looks like just like an app icon. Like it looks like every free app icon.
Oh
It's like a
my
lowercase
God.
E, essentially, on an
it's
angle.
like his face, but really flat.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
iOS design.
Sure.
It's like a clean version of old Chuck's face.
Yeah.
The rooms are much brighter. I know that neither of you went as a kid, but the only thing I remember is how it was so dark that when a kid pissed in the ball pit, you didn't know.
I mean, it's hard to see piss in a ball pit to begin with, so.
No, I'm
Just sort
only
of
saying this
filters.
because my little cousin, the last time I ever went to one, I think this is actually a knockoff called Major Magics. My little cousin, who is now as a grown man, made a show of standing at the top of the slide and peeing down the slide into the ball pit.
That's
which
alpha.
is choice.
Super alpha.
That
Gotta
is
do
so
it.
smart.
Basically, the reason they're like redesigning is they realized, hey, yeah, parents don't like coming. They're only coming for birthdays when they have to suffer.
It took until 2017 to realize parents
What
hate
if-
this.
What if we made a place where like parents would want to eat regularly that, kids want to go to, but overall it's closer to just a normal restaurant?
Sure.
I would say the aesthetic looks like somewhere between a daycare and an Applebee's and a Shake Shack.
Okay.
Okay.
Are robots still a thing in them? Or
I am so glad you asked.
yeah.
No. They're getting rid of the animatronic stage. They're replacing it with a dance floor, baby! Get those kids
Oh.
out. Get those little feet moving.
Are they hiring like dancers to like jazz the crowd up?
Well, so people come out in the mascot costumes throughout the history of Chuck E. Cheese.
Sure.
So I think that's who it is.
Okay.
This is the official statement. Our animatronics are certainly legendary, and they bring up fond childhood memories for millions of adults and fans across the country. As we move forward, we believe our live Chucky experience provides the best entertainment value for kids who have higher expectations of both realism and special effects.
Yeah.
I do like that they refer to him as Chuck E.
Yeah.
Ugh. Meanwhile,
What? They should just
Spectre-
have like a hologram Chuckies. That would be rad.
Yeah, they should just spend like all of the money in the world and like figure out how holograms work, and then just use that. No, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, have a hologram DJ Chucky.
They brought Michael back from the dead so they could do it with Chuck E.
Tupac,
Cheese.
Will I
Tupac,
Am was
yeah.
a hologram.
Can I ask you before I forget? Did we establish what the E stands for?
Edward.
No.
Did you make that up? You spent all
Yeah,
this
of
time
course I did.
researching.
I
I don't
don't
want you
know.
to make stuff up.
The
No,
E is for
it's not Edward.
entertainment.
Probably
Plant.
entertainment.
Chuck. Oh yeah, I forgot.
Chuck
Thanks, little
Entertainment
Laura.
Cheese.
Our other expert who's been downplaying her rich knowledge. So Fector told the Chicago Tribune, this is the man who made the robots, to this day, a lot of my characters are still out there performing with Chuck E. Cheese masks and costumes and voices, but not very well because they're beat up. They're badly programmed, and their showmanship is terrible. It's an abomination.
I mean, that's his life work, and now it's just rotting.
Yeah.
It's moldering.
Somewhere out there, I know they're still playing, and they are poor showmen.
You clowns. So that's the end of their story. I'm going to do a quick Breakfast Club style roundup of our 2 stars. Fector is still going, and here I'm delivering on my promise. He's an inventor. He still has that giant factory space that once had like 200 employees.
Yeah.
That is now just him and the remains of like decades of other inventions.
Amazing.
In 2013, he was working on an experimental fuel called
Uh-oh.
hydrilium, which was stored under heavy pressure in steel tanks. A tank cracked, and the
Uh-oh.
pressure knocked down one of the giant brick walls of the factory. It lifted the ceiling. It was so powerful that it pushed the floor a foot in.
Whoa.
Yeah. He has since repaired the shop.
Good
He
for him.
retained the copyright when the merger happened between Chuck E. Cheese and Showbiz to his Rockafire explosion. So now he is repairing versions of the band in his spot in Florida, and they occasionally do appearances and tours.
So he moves the robots around?
Yeah, like they did like backing for CeeLo.
Whoa, that's amazing. Good for
It's
CeeLo.
Vector driving his animatronic friends in like
That's
a
why he
van.
needed the fuel. He couldn't afford it otherwise.
Bushnell is still going to. He is just challenging himself. He said in an interview with NPR, I believe just earlier this year, I want to stay on the steep part of the learning curve. When you do different things, you're happier.
Yeah, it's true.
Nice little note.
Keep yourself moving.
Yeah.
Okay. So now that we have him out of the way, we get it. You're doing well. It's time for the final rapid fire trivia. How many stores are currently open?
Okay, so out of curiosity, how many? Do you know what their peak was? Like at the peak of Chuck E. Cheese, how many there were?
I can't tell you that
Is that because you don't know, or
Just
because
not
you're
because I
allowed.
don't know.
I just cannot tell you.
Okay, but his intention was to open. He wanted like 500 stores or 1,000 stores within 5 years, right? And that was back in the 80s.
Correct.
Right now, I'm gonna guess that there are 30.
Okay. Allegra.
Okay, I'm gonna say 700.
5,223.
How is that possible?
Say 30.
Because I literally
oh,
in my life have
you-
never seen one.
You want to know? You want to know how
I
it's
drove
possible?
across this whole country. What?
Here's the next question. In the 1980s, Chuck E. Cheese expanded into Australia. What name did it go by?
Oh my god. Was it still Chuck E. Cheese? Like it was still that guy?
It's adjacent.
It's a kangaroo, probably.
I was thinking koala or kangaroo, yeah.
Kangaroo dairy. I don't know.
Okay, no. Charlie Cheese's Pizza Playhouse.
Charlie.
Because Chuck means puke in Australia.
Oh yeah, it
Up
kind of means
Chuck.
puke here.
It does.
Yeah.
And that's appropriate for Chuck E. Cheese, I'd
Charlie.
imagine.
Charlie,
what-
not Penny's boat. Anyway,
I thought you were doing Charlie Bit Me, not Penny's Bout.
Charlie fit me. Charlie Cheese fit me.
What else can you eat at Chuck E. Cheese besides pizza?
hot dogs.
Hamburgers, french fries, chicken
Chicken
tenders.
wings.
Sure.
Salads, a huge salad bar. That has been a staple of the
Good.
business.
Okay.
And cold cut sandwiches.
Ugh,
Cold cuts?
it's got to be so heinous.
Ew.
Who is the first character to be retired? I'm just gonna tell you. Krusty the Cat was replaced in
Surprising.
1978 by Mr. Munch. And what this is the final question. What alternative entertainment did Showbiz offer parents when it first opened?
Laser show.
I was going to say like a peephole.
What? Wait, I'm sorry.
I'm
What is
sorry.
that?
What?
What does that mean?
Like a little peep show.
Oh,
In
so
the
a
back.
strip club.
Yes.
Strip club. Peephole.
Oh,
God.
no, they didn't have a peephole. It was
Okay.
a family venue. They had a separate room that by day showed soap operas and by night showed sports.
Oh, that's
That
smart.
way-
Sports.
It's like a
is
sports
smart.
bar. The soap opera choice is interesting.
Yeah, that's awful.
Yeah.
So that is it. I have some credits. Do you want me to put those at the end?
Yeah, credits. Go for it.
Okay, credits. I want to credit a few different places. Fortune, Chicago Tribune, Food Service Marketing, Nation's Restaurant News, Marilyn V. Green of Needle and Thread, the Denver Post, who I think may have plagiarized the Kansas City Star, NPR's How I Built This Podcast, which has a great episode interviewing Nolan Bushnell about Atari and Chuck E. Cheese, and a massive thanks to showbiz.com, which is a incredible resource of documents, clippings, pretty much anything you could want from the history of Chuck E. Cheese and Showbiz. If you want to see terrifying photographs of the old animatronics, that is the place to go.
Amen. Thank you, Chris Plant. That was very educational about Chuck E. Cheese.
It's so much more than you thought you wanted to know,
It
or
is
you actually wanted to
far
know.
more than we thought we wanted
I
to know.
feel like
but
we
you know
have to
what?
go to one now.
Yeah,
There's one near me.
Oh,
We're gonna
that's
go.
Scary. Okay, we'll take a trip. Thank you, Chris Plant, and thank you everyone for listening at home. This has been History of Fun, where we explore the hidden backstories behind the things you love to do, and Chuck E. Cheese as well. I'm Russ Frushtick for Chris Plant and Allegra Frank. Thank you, and good night.